With Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes likely to be announced right around the corner, we thought it'd be fun to reminisce over our favorite parts of the Sinnoh games and make some sweet, sweet predictions. Welcome to Monkey Business. Let's hop right into it. So, hey Brandon, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I'm excited. There's been some rumors going around, and it would, make sense, seeing as they're the next game slated to be remade, that Diamond and Pearl, or the Sinnoh games in general, are about to come out in 2021. We just started the year, and Pokemon's about to celebrate their 25th anniversary. What are you thinking? Are you? Is there anything? Should we jump into this? Should we talk about this?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping the rumor's true. First of all, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. I think much like you, is my first set of games for Pokemon. So I'm looking forward to the remake of that.
Yeah, me too. So I actually started with Platinum, but I played a little bit of Pearl before it came out. So I think that's a good little place to start because some of what we say is going to be a little bit different depending on how it was. I know there were some key differences between the games, and Platinum did a lot to, fix like the slowness of Diamond and Pearl for one thing, as well as some of the gym leader order and the plot and a little bit, and they added the distortion world. That was pretty epic. I really did enjoy it, and I'm really hoping that if and when they remake them, that it'll live up to my expectations and beliefs. I thought it might be good to talk about these games before the remakes get announced. Talk about some things we liked, some things we wouldn't want in our remakes, and some things that might be a cool addition. Okay, so what are some of your favorite things you can remember from the Sinnoh games?
Well, I think something I enjoyed a lot, considering, as a kid, and even now, I used to forget which types are effective on what. Mm-hmm. And now they kind of remedied that in the sense that, in the match, if you've played against that Pokemon before, it tells you what types are or what moves are super effective and not very effective. Mm-hmm. But I liked having it on that little Poketech or a little watch thing at the bottom screen of the DS. So I think that's something that I fondly remembered and missed in subsequent games.
Yeah, I thought the watch was a lot of fun too. I kind of liked how you got it. I think it involved like a side quest with some clowns in a Jubilife City there. And, we love clowning around. So that was pretty epic. I'd love to see some fully like 3D rendered clowns in our new Pokemon game. It was also fun to try to find some of the different apps. I don't know how many there were. Way more than 10 or 12, eh?
Yeah, it was... I found it was like a nice little, interesting feature to have in a Pokemon game. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's something that I distinctly remember fondly from those games that I felt was kind of, I guess, some equivalent of it was lacking in the other ones.
Yeah, because they had a lot. They had like a calendar, a coin flip. There was like a Pokemon breeding, if they were in the same egg group thing. There was something to show affection and the healthier party without tabbing out. It was really legitimately cool. So it'd be fun to see that.
I think there was some sort of calculator too.
Yeah, for sure. And there was like a step tracker. So I'm not just gonna list all the ones I remember, but it was pretty cool. And I know we were talking a little bit before, and you mentioned that a fun way that they might be able to implement that could maybe be through the Nintendo app.
Yeah. So because of the fact that the Switch doesn't have two screens anymore, there wouldn't really be a place to have that kind of as like a constant place on your screen, and having it in a menu would kind of defeat the purpose of it being there. So now you have to pause and go to a separate menu. So I think one way that Nintendo could theoretically make it live on is via some sort of mobile app that connects to your Nintendo account. And that way you can have it linked to either maybe even a smartwatch or your phone and have some of the same functionality that you had then linked up to your app. And who knows, maybe even have some outdoor real-life activities that can have a consequence on your game, such as step tracking for eggs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that would be really cool for them, and it's not unlike things they've done in the past. Like with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they had the Pokewalker.
The Pokewalker, yeah.
Which was like the same kind of energy. And they do have this app right now, which doesn't have functionality for all games. I think the best it has is some Animal Crossing talking, Splatoon voice chat. There's a cool little Smash feature, but if there's a big new Pokemon game or the remastering this game, that would be a nice way for them to kind of shoehorn that in. And if they get functionality and can sell another product, it's pretty likely they could try to do so. A couple other things that I liked, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I liked the Amity Square thing. So that was, I believe, I mean, apart from maybe Pikachu and Yellow or something, it was like one of the earlier instances where you could walk around with your Pokemon and more than just like one and have a trail behind. Do you remember that? Or was that maybe not in Diamond and Pearl? I think it was in both.
Quite frankly, I don't actually remember.
So it's a,
I know about it, but I don't know if it was actually in Diamond and Pearl or not.
yeah. Well, and it was fun. Like I know that one had like it was limited to, like only cute Pokemon, like some of your starters or whatever. Like it was like Pachirisu and like Psyduck or whatever and Pikachu. But it was a kind of cool thing, and you could pick up some supplies for the contest, which I personally wasn't huge into the contest, but I know like a lot of people enjoyed them, and it added like another layer to the game, right? Like it was a little side mini game you could do. In the at least in the Gen 4 games when they added the contest, there was like the dancing mini game too, which was kind of brain dead, but like it was something more and different than the Gen 3 contest. So that was kind of cute. I didn't watch a lot of the anime, but they did. There were like whole arcs about contests and that, weren't there?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Another thing we want to see return is the underground. Isn't that right, Brandon?
Oh yeah, I think the underground is something that I say is probably a priority of all the things we've talked about, and probably all the things we will talk about for them to bring back into the game, because that was something that I don't know about you, but I had remembered very fondly as being kind of an actual real-time multiplayer experience in Pokemon aside from just a battle. So it gives you something to do. There's traps, and you could customize your little lair. And I think with the with now better Wi-Fi and multiplayer options from not just local multiplayer, but from internet, being able to do that and actually have like a real multiplayer experience with friends in Pokemon again, aside from just battles, would be interesting. Because they claimed that in the latest games in Sword and Shield, that you can see other trainers in the world, but it's just essentially a lifeless bot that kind of moves around somewhat how the other player moves around, but it's very laggy. They say like a default line and give you a bag of berries or something. It's not the same.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of the underground was that there was it actually filled so many like different little holes, you know, like it was a capture the flag type of game while being like a way to collect resources and also have your own spot in the world, right, by making your secret base and customizing it and trading for different things. There were also like elements like related to time. Like I know like in some of the games, I think starting in Gen 3, like you could collect berries and plant your own berries, and like that would, you know, with the in-game clock, you know, you get more berries or something. But with the spheres and stuff, they would grow in size over time, and so you could go for a little while, you come back, you have all these things, you find a hiker and you get all sorts of fun little goodies and traps and whatever. Even in my most recent, like I replayed Platinum a little while ago, and it was just fun to go down there and try to find the fossils for like the fossil Pokemon and some other little. It was a good way to get heart scales and stuff too. Like it was lots of fun, even if the minigame was kind of repetitive.
Yeah. I think once again, just something like that is like a very like just kind of like a nice, relaxing little part of Pokemon that I do really think needs to return for a Diamond and Pearl remake to be complete.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, like with something.
Bruh.
Yeah, one of the beauties of like having a multiplayer mode is it kind of makes the game infinitely playable or something, right? You know, you're not limited to, well, I'm going to do the story. And you can always play, you can always breed, you can always get a bunch of Pokemon to level 100 and go catch legendaries or whatever. But this is, it adds even more to the game. Another thing, I like the Safari Zone. I don't know, you played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the mix match and stuff, and you can find different Pokemon in that. That may be something cool that they could do if they want to spice it up, because there hasn't really been a Safari Zone in a while. You know, when was the last one?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. It's been forever.
It feels like a bunch of the most recent games haven't really had it. I don't know if there was like a small one in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, but they've kind of avoided it, as far as I can tell. I'd like to see a fun little post game with the Looker. Oh, I love the introduction of the Looker. That really, like, as a kid growing up with the Pokemon games, it felt like you were really being sucked into a different world. And there was like all sorts of like secret lore and stuff going on. So
yeah, I feel like the Looker missions, even in X and Y and all that, added like a huge amount of kind of extra like real story content that was fun to play. And based on the last two games, like the story in that was pretty lackluster. Nothing happened of consequence until like the last 30 minutes. And even then, it was just so minor, and everything immediately was resolved.
Yeah, the story in their Gen 8 or whatever, Sword and Shield, was kind of stank. There were some nice, fun little like plot points in DLC or whatever, but
yeah, like it wasn't terrible. It's just nothing of real consequence. Like everything at most would have been like a side story.
Mm-hmm.
Even at like the post game with, or well, not the post game, but with the Soul, like Shield Bert and those guys, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the most inconsequential little diversion that I had. Like I was kind of in shock that that was all there was to it. It was.
Yeah, I felt that way too, and I find like I'm a person who I like the story in the games. I like getting hyped up, and if it's a good game, I feel wrapped up and like, oh well, I'm the protagonist, and look how far we've come with our buddies and stuff. But even compared to some other like Pokemon spin-off games or whatever, like some of the Mystery Dungeon games, which like can get a little bit crazy at times, yeah, there was really not a lot there. And that's another thing, like, they're remaking the games. We feel a certain way about... I mean, you played Diamond and Pearl, and they definitely tweaked quite a bit of the story for Platinum to make it a little bit better, and they added the Distortion World, like I said before. But, like, that felt kind of epic. Like, not gonna lie. And playing Emerald or the Omega Ruby or Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, those were, like, the story in that felt a lot better, so hopefully they can tweak some things. And Gen 5 too, like the black and white stuff.
Yeah,
that was pretty epic.
Yeah, like up until it was specifically this last game, it feels like they completely dropped the ball with the story. It was just so uninteresting. It wasn't, most of the game, it hardly involved any real story arc. It's just so minimal. Like you go on this whole thing, they're trying to discover like the lore of like the king and all that with Sonya, and then they just kind of drop that quickly, and then we're running out of power. It's just no.
Even like
hopefully they can just, I guess, adapt the story of the original Diamond and Pearl and just add to it, kind of like the way they did with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah,
it's not quite the same,
but it's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there were like even the gym trials, like some of those were really fun and little puzzles or whatever, and then by the end it was just like Raihan's was like, okay, dude, like 3 double battles, and it's like, like you have to be able to carry the momentum all the way through, and I hope that a lot of the hopes from what we're talking about here is they didn't release a full game in 2020, so hopefully if this is coming out in the fall, they've had like enough time to do this properly, because I think they might lose a lot of the old fans if they don't do this, if they don't do it justice. The last little thing I have here is I really do hope that they keep kind of some of those more interesting story beats. Like Iron Island, where you go around with that guy just for a little bit, you get to find the thing. Or Eterna Forest, you go around with like Cheryl or Charisse or whatever. And there's the old chateau, which is like haunted, and there's little ghosts. There's even in the post game, there's where you go up to get Heatran. I don't know if you had that in Diamond and Pearl, but you ran around with like one of the like a little dude, and he was like, oh wow, this is me, my brother's like an Elite Four or something, and there were lots of little characters that kind of joined you on your quest, and that was kind of fun, to have other play. Or like there were some sequences that were like totally cool too, and I'm not talking like just animations. Like at one point, Team Galactic drains like Lake Acuity or something, one of the lakes, and you see all the Magikarp flopping around. And for like a 10 or 11-year-old like little Andrew, I was like, holy crap, what the heck? This is crazy, So I hope they keep some of that stuff in.
Yeah, I think that ties in kind of with our point about the story. So it's just in this case just a little more than just the main and post game. It's just little side bits with interesting story, not just finding a legendary randomly in a lair and just accepting the fact that somehow every important legendary from every game is all in one spot, but just having a little bit of lore and reason for why that is the case.
Yeah, I feel like they might lean into like the wormhole thing again, like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were the last remakes we got, right? And they had that whole Delta episode with Deoxys and the wormholes and different timelines or whatever, which was like kind of cool. I like them adding to the lore, but it's an easy way to fix some things. And that's where we're going to go on now into like the things we'd want to like remove or keep out of the game. And honestly, I don't really want to see Dynamax return. I don't think there's a place for it in the Sinnoh region as being this old like older, cute, like ancient type of region with a bunch of cozy little towns, to have these huge mega like football stadiums and like roaring Pokemon that are growing up to be the size of a mountain. Like I don't see how that would fit unless they do a funny and they're like, okay, well this game's set in the future or on a different timeline or something,
Yeah.
I just gotta say to the viewers at home that that texture pack is kind of funny, huh? We have a new anchor here. Oh God, Brandon. Oh no. Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay, I got some iron now. Yeah, how do you feel about Dynamax? Because you got
Well,
Sword and Shield a little bit more recently, and you got
yeah.
three, so.
So I think the idea of Dynamax is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The past few games seem to all have some sort of little gimmick that only translates to that game, such as Dynamax, and then what was the other one? It was like Ultra Evolution, or it was something like that. Right?
Yeah, there was Mega Evolution, then
Mega
there were the Z
Evolution.
moves too.
Yeah, Z moves. So all these sort of little things have been in games, but the thing is they've never carried over.
Yeah.
So in the case of Diamond and Pearl, I very much doubt they'll add Dynamax because in the past history of them adding these little weird quirks, they've never carried over into the next game unless it was kind of, I guess, set in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
Or so not same universe, set in the same region. So it's like, Sun and Moon 2 and Sun and Moon sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I get you're right with that. I know like Let's Go had some Mega Evolutions, but that wasn't the same. And yeah, no, I see what you're saying. So I really do hope they leave it.
I think in this case, odds are what they're going to do is either just not have it or have some sort of new special thing for Sinnoh. Like, oh, we discovered this new thing. It may be something that kind of ties in loosely to like enhancing the story with, maybe Palkia and Dialga or something that ties into that or has them at some sort of, or I guess has some sort of lore significance for them. So I guess hopefully it'll be something like that, not just Dynamax again, which was kind of,
Yeah, because like while Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had Mega Evolutions were a lot less invasive than Dynamax, because they were on a smaller scale, like you could have introduced that energy or stones or whatever, and then you can use it in battle. That's one thing, but to say, oh, suddenly your Pokemon, becomes this illusion of it being 50 times bigger and it's not really there, And also, like, the Dynamax stuff is kind of cool. Like, we had a lot of fun doing the adventures in the Crown Tundra, but I have to say, it's kind of slow, And it's not like... The Z moves are once a battle too, but this you get 3 turns, and it just feels kind of clunky and weird, and very few Pokemon actually have different forms that look different and feel unique, so, and it doesn't really change the stats except adding HP, so I know...
Yeah.
Like... I feel like some people would say that's like them trying to like push back against like the competitive scene a little bit because whatever, but I don't know. That doesn't involve me. All I know is I don't really want to see that there. I don't think it fits even just the theming of Sinnoh.
Yeah.
We got another co-star. The last thing we don't want to see, we mentioned before, it's HM moves. Isn't that right, Brandon?
Yeah. The thing is, HM moves, she had their purposes, go around, and anytime you need to get in water, you have to use Surf, and you have to use Cut to cut down your little branches in the way, and all this stuff. And quite frankly, it was just, I remember it being just terribly annoying. Like, it didn't really add much to the story. Like, it, in a sense, added sort of, blocks to progression. Like, you only get this HM after you beat a gym leader.
Yeah.
And that's how you can access this area. But honestly, it's essentially the same thing as saying, oh, we're under construction here, you can't go here. Oh, or just something along those lines versus just weird blocks that can be replaced with anything else story significant wise. And now all of a sudden you have to carry a bunch of Pokemon on you with these HMs that may or may not be terrible. Like, Cut and stuff are terrible moves. Surf and Fly, you can argue, are good moves on their own that you wouldn't want to have anyway. But the problem is now it leads into forcing yourself to have like one HM slave character on you at all times, or Pokemon. It's just,
Yeah.
I prefer the approach that the newer games took where you just get bike upgrades and that can allow you to pass. You can surf. There's no more cutting needed. Because
Yeah.
in 3D is a little bit silly. Like, there's no more cutting needed. You can just, if you go in the water, your bike is capable of going on water, or you have some sort of other way without HMs that you can just go on water. Flying is now by those flying taxis.
Yeah, and Sinnoh was notoriously bad with it too. Like, they had things like Defog too, which served like an actual purpose. In like all those mist areas, and people talk about how slow it was to move through the region, like with the the higher routes up there that were like super deep in the snow, or the marshy ones near Pastoria where you just kind of get stuck. I personally thought that was kind of fun and funny, not gonna lie. and it was a little bit frustrating trying to move and not be able to see, but like the HM slow things down a lot. And I hope they keep some of the dungeons they had there, like all through Mount Coronet and stuff. But having the random boulders and rocks you can or can't smash, and then some floors are just foggy for no reason, even though you're like underground. Like, I think we can avoid some of that. You're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that in terms of HM moves, it's just no go.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll be fun to see what they do instead. I think you're right. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think maybe they could do like bike upgrades instead. Like they could do ride Pokemon again, like they did in Sun and Moon. But I didn't really like the weird like suit you had to put on every time you did that, and like it still felt kind of weird. You could only like set 4 to be like a hotkey, and like getting carried around by a Machamp is funny at first, but like kind of weird afterwards.
And you brought this up before, that if they bring back HM moves, not as something that's necessary, but as this kind of cool things that don't really affect your progression.
Oh, God.
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess as an example, instead of for Surf, you can take your bike, or if you want, you can use if you have a Pokemon that happens to have Surf, you can use him instead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess the problem with this is in some cases, like imagine, I don't know, you want to use Surf with your with some kind of large Pokemon, like a Wailord or something like that. Now, would the problem there be some areas that you're meant to be able to only get through with like the tight spacing of your bike or whatever other tool in the new games you have? Now you can't get there with a larger Pokemon, or are they going to just have to make everything large enough that you can fit with any size of Pokemon? Or maybe if the alternative is allow only certain Pokemon to show up, like they pre-program it so you can only use that special thing with like 3 types of Pokemon.
Yeah. So like now that I remember, they did that with Sharpedo in one of the games, right? And that was like a lot faster, but like none of the other Pokemon showed up, and it is more difficult for them to get away with having every time you use Surf you're on like a Lapras or Wailmer, because it totally breaks your immersion when you're surfing on like a Slowpoke or a Squirtle or something, right? So that's kind of, we'll have to see what they do. Like if they removed all the HM stuff, that's okay. There's other ways they can add a challenge or restrict it than doing that, because even while they had HMs, remember, you couldn't go to like Sunyshore City because there was a power outage and there was just one guy stopping you like for most of the game. That was kind of silly. So finally, let's just quickly talk about a couple things that we'd like to add. It is a remake. Pokemon has advanced in the like 4 generations since we were back in the Sinnoh region. I think Mega Evolution would fit. And hand in hand with this is kind of, having regional variants. I would actually love to see some new Pokemon, even though it's a remake game. So if they're giving evolutions to some of the Sinnoh Pokemon that didn't get Mega Evolutions, because I don't think many of them did, that'd be cool. Or if there's regional variants of some new Pokemon that we have, and like there's a way they fit them in for that they were there, that'd be cool. Also, like the whole theme of the Sinnoh region was evolution, right? That's what like Professor Roan was studying. That's why we got like Electivire and Magmortar and maybe not Crobat, but like a bunch of those 3rd evolutions, So I think it could fit pretty well there. Also, you mentioned before the wireless PC box, or whatever it's called, being able to like open your inventory and switch Pokemon. I think that's necessary now.
Yeah, honestly, it's so useful to have. It's having to go back anytime, like especially when HMs and stuff mattered. You get to one area and you find out, oh wait, now you need this other move, so you have to go all the way back to where you came from, manage to get back to where you were, swap out to that Pokemon that had that HM, and then you progress a little bit more and you find you need another one. It's terrible. So I think the wireless box solution is just great, because like I don't know how much it really affects the gameplay or the balancing that you can now switch Pokemon kind of almost whenever you want, aside from mid-battle, obviously.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more convenient, and it's just such a quality of life thing to do that I think they had to add it, because like in terms of this stuff, they haven't really ever regressed in terms of quality of life things they've added. So like recently, I think it wasn't just this game, right? It was before that kind of HMs were slowly no longer, and the XP share by default sort of thing.
So yeah, I did for sure. I absolutely I agree with that, and it doesn't and it's not like immersion breaking or anything. Not that they really care. I don't think the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, or whoever really cares about like how immersed you are in the game at this point. You know, with being able to whip open your magic capsule in your backpack versus having to go into the health station and talk to a computer to whip out your balls. You know, I don't think it matters too much. Another thing, you know, like regional variants would be cool. That'd be another nice way to incorporate other Pokemon, and things have changed, you know, a little bit since then. There's been how many hundreds of Pokemon since then? Probably, you know, 1 or 2 or 300 Pokemon, including legendaries and variants and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, particularly with the latest games, it's kind of disappointing how little of the Pokemon made it through. Like, of course, with the DLC, they added some more, but initially it was kind of extremely limited in terms of what Pokemon they actually carried over.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing I think was with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire too is that some of the important characters in the game and like some of the gym leaders I think too, or at least like, you know, later on the Elite Four and the Champion, they had like their ace Pokemon was Mega, so kind of like it was like a totally fresh take on the game. You know, when people who played like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald saw like Steven or whatever with his Metagross, and now it's like Mega and has like floating and even like more powerful. You know, it kind of there's something to be said about how that makes you feel as a player.
Yeah.
These are what we're excited about, what we don't really want to see, and what we think would be nice to be added. Brandon's just cutting up some dinner for us over there. You know, if you like this Pokemon content, let us know. We might revisit this if we got things right at all or really wrong or whatever. And if you agree, let us know. If you disagree, let us know. And if you have any suggestions for other Pokemon stuff you want us to talk about or other conversations here, make us whip out the when the teacher comes to class with the TV on the trolley, you know, then let us know. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode here on Monkey Business. Isn't that right, Brandon?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if we can find a way to make it work, maybe we'll explore some more Diamond and Pearl if we get those remakes in the fall. Hopefully they didn't just announce it and this has all been made obsolete. But we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.